We build a working RAG pipeline. Ingest, retrieve, generate, catch, but if Postgres is not ready when the API starts, the container crashes. Secrets are hard-coded, there is no automated check before merging to main, and we cannot verify that Redis is actually reachable. Production apps need 12-factor config where environment-specific values live in environment variables. Health probed that verify dependencies, startup migrations, and CI gates that block broken code. This episode wraps our stack in Docker Healthchecks, splits liveness from the Readiness probes, runs migrations on boot, adds Makefile dev shortcuts, and gates GitHub merge with the Ruff plus pytest. When we finish, Makeup waits for the healthy services. curl ready proves Postgres and Redis are reachable, and CI blocks broken code from main. Run Makeup. Compose boots Postgres and Redis, wait for their health checks to report green, then start the API. Run docker compose PC and all these services show healthy. curl the readiness endpoint and it returns status ready, Postgres OK and Redis OK. Stop Redis and make the same curl again. Now it returns that status degrade, Postgres OK and Redis error. HTTP status is still 200, not 500. The API is healthy, but monitoring dashboards can parse which dependency failed. Restart Redis and status flip back to ready. Make health runs that check in one command. GitHub Actions show the green check. Ruff linting passed, pytest passed, compose smoke test passed. CI gates the merge. Start with API config.py. Pydantic base settings autoloads.env variables into typed field, database URL, Redis URL, open API key, and retrieval params. Settings config dict has env file with the value.env and extra with value ignore that prevents crashes from unmapped deployment variables. Module level singleton settings avoids the re-adding the file per request. This is 12-factor methodology. All environment config in variables, never hard-coded. Move to API routes health.py. Two endpoints. Liveness probe, get to the health endpoint returns status OK, confirms the process is alive. Readiness probe, get to the ready endpoint, uses depends get settings for testable config injection, opens synchronous psychopyg connect to Postgres and runs select one when creates Redis client and calls ping. We catch exceptions per dependency. If Postgres fails, Postgres status is error. If Redis fails, Redis status is error. Overall status is ready. Only in both are OK, otherwise degraded. We return 200 OK with JSON payload, not hard 500. Monitoring dashboards parse with the services down. Why split liveness from readiness? Single health endpoint that checks database. If database fails, orchestrator kills the restart API in a loop. Separate ready endpoint and orchestrator stops traffic, waits for the database recovery, and API process stays alive. It is pretty much maps to Kubernetes liveness probe and the readiness probe. Open API main.py. The async context manager lifespan replaces legacy startup events. Before yield, we call run migrations with the setting database URL to execute SQL scripts. Migrations use if not exist idempotent, safe to run every boost. Schema always synced with the code before the accepting traffic. Makefile wraps commands into aliases. So we run curl and we run make tests, reduces the cognitive load with the same flags locally. Docker compose YAML and the Postgres health check run, PG is ready, Redis runs Redis clipping and API depends on with Postgres condition, service healthy and same for Redis. Compose waits for green health checks before starting API, prevents crash loops. API has its own health check curling on the endpoint health. .github workflows ci.yaml triggers on push or pull request to main. Steps. Check out code, install UV, which is the Rust-based Python package manager, drastically faster than pip. Then run uv-run, Ruff check for linting, and uv-run pytest, -v for tests. Docker compose up-d plus curl on the health to smoke test. Any step fail, workflow fails, and GitHub blocks merge. Production evolution. .env file standard for local compose. Production CI or CD injects secrets via GitHub secrets, AWS secrets manager, HashiCorp vault at runtime, and never commit .env to Git. High traffic production would check connection pool status, PG bouncer, or SQL Alchemy pool, instead of opening fresh Postgres connections every readiness call to avoid exhausting database limits. So we added something like production ops 12-factor config in api-config.py, which loads environment values with pydentic validation, health probes split liveness from the readiness so orchestrators do not kill healthy processes when dependencies fail, lifespan migrations sync schema on boot, and composed health checks prevent the crash loops, then Makefile shortcuts, standardized workflows, GitHub actions, CI gates, merges on green Ruff plus pytest plus smoke test, and Radiant point actively verifies Postgres and Redis returns structure degraded state monitoring. Dashboards parse with service is down. Next episodes add evaluation metrics and security layers. Both reuse the ops foundation, production ready stack, waits for dependencies, verifies health, runs migrations automatically, and block broken code at CI. If you found this video helpful, learned something new, or discovered ways to simplify your workflow, boost your productivity, or even save money, please subscribe my channel and hit the like, because it really helps me to grow and keep digging to discover new things and continue creating more content like this. Also, leave a comment below with your thoughts, questions and experiences. My goal is for us to learn, grow and build real AI expertise together, and your feedback is an important part of that. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos. Life is dead so now.